If you're about to embark on a fat loss phase, then you need to watch this video, because the number one reason most people fail at fat loss phases is hunger. So today I'm going to tell you my key tips to minimize hunger during fat loss phases. I've learned these tips over a decade of dieting, and these are the things that I implement when I do my own fat loss phases, and they help me stay on track. So let's just go ahead and dive in with tip number one. The first thing that you gotta do is just accept hunger. You gotta accept it. You're gonna embark on a fat loss phase. You're gonna be eating fewer calories than what your body burns on a daily basis to maintain your current body weight. So at some point, you will be hungry. You gotta just accept it. It's part of the process. And when this happens, you gotta think long game. You gotta think long term. I'm doing this right now. I'm putting up with this hunger right now because I wanna look a certain way, because I wanna reap the health benefits that this fat loss phase is gonna bring. Internalize it, accept it, and then just think long game. Think about all the pros, all the cool things that your current fat loss phase is going to bring. So tip number two is planning. Now, most people don't plan their phases. They just say, I'm gonna do a fat loss phase, I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight, and we'll see what happens. It shouldn't be done like that, because if you do that from the start, you're setting yourself up for failure. When you do a fat loss phase, you gotta understand that they are gonna be finite. You're not gonna be dieting for the rest of your life. When you ingrained this in your head, you know that you're gonna be dieting hard from 8 to 12 weeks, sometimes 16, but that's the top. And after the 8 to 16 week mark, you're gonna take a break, you're gonna eat more food, and you're gonna feel great. So when you internalize that it's gonna have an end, it's gonna have a finish line, then you can use that as fuel to work really hard during your fat loss phase. So remember, it's gonna have an end. And it all comes down to planning. If you plan, you know that your phase will be 8 to 16 weeks, and after that, you'll take a break. And if you still need to lose more weight after the 8 to 16 week mark, then you can repeat another fat loss phase, but you'll take a diet break in between. What's not recommended is that you just, if you have a lot of weight to lose, that you wanna lose it all at once, because then after the 12-week mark, things can get difficult, hunger can get out of control, and then people tend to binge. And when you binge in a fat loss phase, that's when disaster happens. So before you hit that point where you cannot control your hunger, take a break. Raise your calories to maintenance, enjoy it, recover physically and mentally from dieting, and then do it all over again. Tip number three is you don't need to crash diet and set up a huge deficit to start. When you do a fat loss phase, you wanna be eating as many calories as you can while you still hit the goal, which is fat loss. A lot of people wanna do a drastic fat loss phase. They wanna lose a lot of weight, and they start on a crash diet, eating nothing, eating very little. What happens is that they get burnt out really fast. As an example, if you're someone who can lose weight at 1800 calories, if you can do it consistently, if you can do it feeling good without being too hungry, you can lose around 1% of your body weight per week. Why would you start a diet at 1200 calories? It doesn't make any sense. 1200 calories is gonna suck, you're gonna be hungry, you're not gonna be able to recover, your gym sessions are gonna be horrible, and the probability, the chances of you quitting are gonna be a lot higher when you start with a lower number of calories. Set up your calories to the max that you can eat while you still hit your goals. Tip number four, increase your protein intake. During fat loss, your body breaks down tissue as energy. Now, your body doesn't know what tissue is gonna break. Your body just needs energy. You gotta set up variables around your diet so that the tissue that you're breaking is not muscle, it's fat, because you wanna lose fat, you don't wanna lose muscle. The main way to protect yourself against muscle loss during fat loss phases is two things. It's twofold: eating sufficient protein and performing resistance training sessions. So how much protein do you need to eat? If you're someone who's not overweight, very overweight, you can eat somewhere between 0.8 to 1.3 grams per pound of body weight. When you're on fat loss, I recommend going towards the higher end. Why? Because again, protein is gonna protect your muscles, and two, protein has a high satiety index, meaning that when you eat protein, you tend to be less hungry than when you eat a lower protein diet. Eating higher proteins during fat loss phases is gonna have two benefits: protecting you against muscle loss and increasing satiety. And you know, when you're not hungry, the chances of failing go down. So, high protein intake. Tip number five, you gotta think long term. You cannot think just about today when you're doing fat loss. You gotta think about the next years, what you want to accomplish. What do you wanna look like in a year? What do you want your health to be like in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years? When you take this long-term approach, you understand that the actions you're taking today are gonna benefit the future you. So you're gonna be able to put up with some challenges today because you know that in the end, you're gonna be able to reap the rewards of putting up with those challenges. So before you start a fat loss phase, set up a long-term goal. That could be a weight number. I wanna hit this number by X date. That could be a photo shoot. That could be a trip. That could be anything, a wedding. But set up a long-term goal that's gonna help you stay on track every single day. And whenever you feel like going off track, you can think about your long-term goal. Do not start a fat loss phase without setting up a goal because staying on track is gonna be very hard. And I'll use myself as an example. Earlier this year, I did a bodybuilding show. For that show, I did the hardest diet I've ever done in my life. It was 16 weeks, and for the last 6 weeks, I was eating 1,600 calories. Just so you know, a little bit of context, my mom is 62 years old, and she was eating more calories than me. So I'm a big guy, I'm 200 pounds, well 220 right now, but back then I was close to 200 pounds, and I was only eating 1,600 calories. If I didn't have the show, if I didn't know that I was gonna step on stage and I was gonna be judged, I would have quit that diet at least 2 months before the show because it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But having the show in mind allowed me to stay on track because I wanted to do good. I wanted to represent vegans. I wanted to win. So having the why, the show, kept me on track every single day. Next tip is focus on eating high volume foods that have low calories. Now, you can lose weight eating nothing but junk food. You're gonna need a lot of willpower, but it can be done. It's not recommended because when you're in a fat loss phase, you wanna make sure that you do everything that you can to minimize hunger. The easiest way to do this is to make sure that your diet is made of whole foods or foods that have a lot of volume but very low number of calories. 100 grams of Oreos have almost 500 calories. 100 grams of watermelon have 30 calories. So if you're really hungry, think about the amount of watermelon you can eat for 500 calories. For 100 grams of watermelon, you're just gonna get 30 calories, whereas for 100 grams of Oreos, you're gonna get 500 calories. Think about me in my bodybuilding show. 500 calories represented almost a third of my total daily calories. Do you think I wanted to eat 100 grams of Oreos, consume 1/3 of my calories, and then just starve to death and be hungry the rest of the day? No, I didn't do that because I wouldn't have been able to do the diet if I did that. So what to do instead, make sure you're eating plenty of vegetables that are low in calories, you're eating plenty of fruits that are low in calories, and you're eating plenty of protein. Next, you gotta establish consistent eating patterns. A lot of people wanna eat properly from Monday to Friday, and then they go crazy on the weekends. This is not a consistent eating pattern. When you're dieting, you wanna make sure you're as consistent as possible. Being consistent with the amount of meals you're eating, with the meal timing, with everything is gonna help you stay on track. Now, I understand life happens sometimes and unexpected things can take place. You can have a trip, you can have an emergency. When those things happen, you'll do your best to stay on track. But aside from those events, you wanna make sure that you're as consistent as possible. When you're consistent with your eating patterns, then it's gonna be easier to stay on track. Try to be consistent with the hours of the day you're eating and with the foods you're eating. That's gonna help you stay on track. Next tip is to avoid stress. Now, stress will happen because, again, unexpected things can happen. But stress is really bad, really bad when you're dieting. Stress is gonna make you hold water. It's gonna cause water retention in your body. And then when you're retaining more water, you will not see the scale moving down and you're gonna get frustrated. So do your best to avoid stress. Do your best to stay away from stressors. Stress also releases hormones that trigger hunger. So usually people that are more stressed are more hungry. So stress is really bad during a diet. It's gonna cause water retention, it's gonna increase your hunger levels, and it's gonna make the process harder and harder. Next tip is to avoid crazy cardio protocols. Again, most people, they start on a diet, they're very motivated, they wanna do everything at once, so they go to the gym 6 times a week, they run another 5 times a week, and they wanna do everything at the same time. This will cause and will lead to you burning out. So instead, start with the basic stuff. Start with lifting consistently. Start with walking, okay? We wanna walk instead of doing cardio. Why do we wanna walk instead of doing crazy cardio protocols? Because when you do crazy cardio, when you do a HIIT session, that's gonna cause a lot of disruption in your body. It's gonna need a lot of calories to recover from that. You're gonna get really tired. And what happens when you get tired, when you increase the damage that you cause your body, hunger levels go up. So when hunger levels go up and you have a restricted amount of calories, things get difficult. So instead, you wanna make sure you're burning sufficient calories to stay in a caloric deficit and you're not causing a lot of disruption in your body. The easiest way to do that is just to walk. You can walk 10 to 15,000 steps a day and you're gonna be in a great place to do a fat loss diet. You're not gonna be affecting your recovery, your gym sessions are not gonna suffer, and you're gonna be able to hit your goals. So avoid crazy cardio protocols and walk, but do it consistently, 10 to 15,000 steps a day. And the last tip of today, make sure that you prioritize your sleep. Sleep is key to succeeding in a fat loss phase, in a muscle gain phase, in anything you're doing in your life. Lack of sleep is horrible. It's gonna make you anxious, it's gonna cause stress, it's gonna make you release hormones that are gonna make you hungrier, you're gonna retain more water, you're gonna feel cranky. It has so many bad side effects. So make sure that you're doing your best to prioritize your sleep. Generally, most people need somewhere in between 7 to 9 hours per night. Those are the tips that I've been using for my whole life, and those are the things that I teach my clients. When you nail these things, you're gonna be able to stay consistent and to really nail your fat loss phases and to avoid hunger. That is it for this video. If you want some help with your fitness goals, if you want me and my team to help you one-on-one with shredding fat, building muscle, getting healthier, then all you gotta do is go to the description. There's a link where you can book a free consultation. First, you're gonna fill out a quick questionnaire. It's gonna take you about 3 minutes, where you're gonna tell us exactly the things you want to accomplish and the things that are holding you back right now. Then we're gonna book a call. We're gonna ask you a couple of questions to learn a little bit more about your situation. And if we can help you out, we'll let you know about the next steps. And if we can't, we'll try to point you in the right direction. That's it for today. Julian here, signing off.